beautiful people. Poetic Angel, I'm back with another podcast. This is not a hair review. I have not neglected you. I've just been super busy trying to make wigs, trying to do other people's hairstyle because of COVID. You know, you're home, you're not doing anything, quarantine style, you know how that goes. But anyways, I wanted to do this podcast because I don't know about you, but I just feel like $1,200 stimulus does not cut it for me, especially if you are a family of over 3 people. That just does not cut it. I personally think it's an insult. Not that it didn't help, but yeah. So that inspired me to do this podcast because a lot of people lost their jobs during this COVID, pandemic. And, it's hard for one to maintain his or her household, especially if you are a single parent. Some of the dads aren't even around due to the circumstances, why they're not around. So the question that I took to the streets was that I wanted to find out, do you think it's harder for a man, you could be black, blue, green, white, purple, whatever color you are, because everything's color now, is it harder for a man to find a good job in America than a woman? So I took it to the streets, and this is all the feedback that I got. Keep watching.
Hey, thanks for letting me be a part of your podcast, Anne. Once again, I think you always cover some great topics. Today's question is, do I think it's harder for a black man to get a job in America as opposed to a woman? And yeah, for sure. One, I think that there's such a disadvantage for men in general, especially a black man. It all depends on how he looks. If he has too many tattoos, or if he has a tattoo in the wrong place on his arm, or it's visible, too much facial hair, or even long hair or dreads. I don't see it as a problem, and I'm actually a business owner with my husband, who's Anne's brother, and I don't see a problem with it. I think as long as you come to a job opportunity looking professional, your best. It doesn't mean you have to be in the most expensive outfit, but as long as your character and your true personality comes through and you're there to actually, show up for the job, I don't think there should be any issue with it. Unfortunately, that's not the way America works, and it's a messed up system. I think as a female, it's a little bit easier for us to get a job at times, just for the simple fact that I think people tend to feel that they can, give us a lower salary, or think that we'll take a job just because we're desperate, or maybe they offer it to us because we're, it's a pity thing for them. But I do think it's definitely harder for a black man to get a job in America at the moment. And I definitely think it's time to change that, only for the simple fact that there's some really smart black men out there. And it's definitely, something that needs to change. And I think the more opportunities we give them and give them that chance to prove themselves, I think that's the way to go about it. But until people start opening up their minds and seeing the reality that there are smart people out there, especially the black man, then they're only screwing their own selves. And it's time for a change.
Good morning to those of you that are out there on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just wanted to jump on and answer a quick question that was posed to me by a very good friend of mine regarding whether it's or not it's more difficult for an African American male to find a good job working in this economy and working within the American sources that we have. My answer to that question is, I don't believe it's harder for an African American male to find a job. I do believe it's harder for an African American male to sustain the job. And my reason for saying so is simply because there are so many obstacles that an African American male has to overcome, meaning he is considered a threat to society once he gains an access of power in the work world. So I wouldn't say it's harder for us to find jobs. I would just say it's harder for us to sustain a job. I believe with the movement that we've had within the last 10, 15 years, women are able to gain jobs and are able to be in positions of power. But I don't believe that it's harder for a male to find a job. I do believe it's harder for us to sustain a job by working in America. Again, just because we are viewed as a threat, and they know the sense of power that we have and possess to be able to lead America. And this is really a two-part situation. So again, it's not harder. I just think it's harder for us to sustain working in the corporate America. I hope you enjoyed my viewpoint. I hope that someone has learned something from what I'm saying, and that with knowledge and power and wisdom, we can also make a difference within the work world. Thank you for listening.
So the question that was posed to me today by my girl Lyric is, can a black man, and I'm going to keep this black on black, can a black man obtain gainful employment, a career in America compared to a black woman? And I'm going to say yes. And the reason I say yes is because even though black men and black women, we are the original kings and queens, we excel at anything we do and we put our minds to, we are both perceived as a threat. But the benefit a black man has is that they never want to see a woman run anything. They never want to see a woman in charge. Yes, he has to work 20 times harder than his white brethren, but a woman has to work 30 times harder than her black brother in order to get the same position and possibly make the same money, to get close to the same money. So yes, a black man can. It's going to take a whole lot of education, a whole lot of willpower, a whole lot of strength, knowledge, and know-how, but they can definitely gain gainful employment and a career here in America quicker than a woman can.
I think that the job that the women get, you have to be more educated because they're in the office. So the jobs that guys get, truck driving or warehouse or something like that, pay they pay less money. So, I think that men probably make less. They work, hard, but they make less money than women.
Do I think it's harder for a man to find a good job in America than a woman? It's an interesting question. I don't know if there's a direct answer in there. I think it's a little more complicated than that. I think if we're talking just in general in employment, no. I think there are plenty of opportunities out there for everybody, regardless of their gender or how they identify. That being said, I think if you drill the question down a little more, it comes down to industry. For instance, I'm a financial advisor. Most of the people in my office are men, but we do have about 25%, 30% that are women. Women who are in their 40s or older, who've been doing this a long time and who are very good at what they do as well. Most of my clients happen to be school teachers, and most of my school teachers seem to be female or women. That's not to say I don't think a man couldn't get a job inside the educational system in the K through 12, but I think men choose not to go into that industry. That being said, do I think people are being discriminated against for being a man? No, I haven't seen that in my views or what I've been through in this world. I definitely know there are some things where diversity is playing, and people definitely want to have more women in the workforce and more women in the same type of level jobs as men, as executives and whatnot. But I don't feel like there's something that it's pushing towards one way or the other, where if you have two well-qualified candidates who both satisfy the job description, but one is male, one is female, that the female will wind up getting the job. I think that comes down to who, if I was doing the hiring, who's a better employee, who fits better with my team, whose personality meshes with that of the corporate culture and the structure of what we're trying to build together. And I know that's what my superiors do when we look at bringing new people on, including myself, because I was up for a job against someone else. And it was my personality and it was me being me that actually wound up getting me the job.
Is it harder for a black man to get a job in this country versus a black woman? I'm going to have to say it's equal. It's definitely equal. And here's why. This systemic racism has been going on in this country for hundreds and hundreds of years. But when it comes to the job market, especially for black people, it's so competitive. And they will rather choose, and I'm not saying all of this exists across the board, because there are people out there with excellent jobs and they're black. But we should be in much more higher positions versus what we're in now. Because it's a competitive market out there, and with Caucasian men and women and Asian men and women, when it comes to corporations, of course they're going to choose them first. And yes, it's important to show that, okay, I have this education and I can do this job. But of course they're going to choose the Caucasian or the Asian person before a black person. Not saying that it's like that all the way across the board. There are jobs out there that are hiring extremely talented black men and women, but it's that racism is always going to exist, and it's always going to play a role in who gets that job. Now, if you're specifically asking, is it harder for a black man versus a black woman one-on-one getting that job? Again, I'm going to say it's equally hard, but based on studies that black women are now more educated than ever versus a black man, and I know there's a lot of people going to say, no, that's not true, but statistics show that black women are now more educated than ever when it comes to going to these colleges and graduating and then getting these jobs. Black women are getting the jobs. Black men, not saying that they don't, because they do. They do graduate from college, and they do move forward and move on to great jobs, but it's not equal. And I guess some employers would rather pick a black woman over a black man. I don't know why. It could be in reverse. It's always been said that black women are too aggressive, black women are too this, black women are too that. That plays a role in it too, of not getting the jobs that we deserve. So I would say it's equal. I would definitely say it's equal. Equally as hard. I can give you an example. For example, I had been a construction laborer since 1986, and just retired in 2018. Officially retired now, and I've been foreman on jobs. I've been lead man on jobs, based on my experience, I should have been catapulted to general foreman, senior general foreman, superintendent, project manager. But because of my skin color, it made it that much harder. Not saying that there's women out there, black women, that aren't running construction jobs. They are. But it's very, very rare. And kudos to the ones who made it. I looked at myself paving the way for a lot of black women in construction, especially where I stay. So, yeah, it's hard on both ends of the scope. So, one day we'll make it. One day we'll make it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So the topic is, do I believe it's harder for men to find a job than a woman in America? I think so. Only because, I don't know, physical therapists, nurses, like those fields are kind of rising in job searches. So I think in that sense, it is easier for a woman to find a job. I think like hard labor jobs that are predominantly men, even though they hire on a consistent basis because like we're always building something. But I think now with technology growing and other things, women just have more of a finesse that men don't have. So I think statistically, I think if we probably Google it or whatever, we can find out that, yeah, it is harder for a man to find a job than a woman. Sometimes I think like, okay, yeah, it's easier for a man, but I think it's just your drive, really. Like if you have a drive to want to work, you apply yourself. Men are not so much, I don't know, like looking for jobs like women are. We could be lazy when it comes to that. More felons have jobs when it comes to hard labor, so I don't know how that counts. But for me, I think yes, it is easier for a woman to find a job than a man, only because right now, man, the woman's drive is just right, like it's way up there, way far superior than a man's drive. Like you can hear it in songs and in women empowerment movements. So that's my answer to that.
Hi everyone, hope everyone is doing well and safe. The question is, do you think it's harder for a black man in America to find a good job compared to a woman? Well, it all depends on the position he's applying for. We all know that blue collar work comes a dime a dozen. There's tons of those jobs that a black man could easily get compared to white corporate America jobs. It might be harder for them to get hired. It'll be easier for them to hire a woman because they're less threatening. The black man has been preyed upon and looked upon as inferior and intimidating and threatening. So therefore, with that said, it doesn't even matter if he has a master's degree. They pretty much just judge him by the skin of his color. And that's so sad. As we all see now, playing on the news, the protesting of racial discrimination, of systemic racism that's been going on in America for centuries. People are tired and they want to just be treated fair and be able to express themselves in such a way and exhibit the skills and talents that God gave them to be an asset to society. So with that said, yeah, of course we do have successful black men in corporate America, but it has to be more of them given the opportunities. Through years, white America and society has conditioned black folks, not just black men, but black and brown people in general, to feel inferior, to hold us back. For what reason, I don't know, just pure hatred. They must see that, we are a powerful people. And I think it's all based and stems from fear that we might surpass them. But God created each of us equal in his own image. We all deserve the right to be successful. With that said, it's so sad, but it's true that it is harder for a black man in America to find a good job compared to a woman. Bye now.
To answer the question, yeah, I do feel like it's harder for a man, a black man, to find a job versus a woman because we get stereotyped more, and we're born, or if you come here with two strikes, we are looked upon as a threat. You know, if we have too much ambition, or our credentials are right up there with whatever other race, nationality, it's still a problem. You know what I mean? Women have more easier route than men now, and I think in America, especially, it's designed for a woman to go further than a man right now. Anyway, whether you black, white, whatever you are, you know. So, yeah, I feel like it's harder for a man. It's harder for a black man to make moves in this country. You know, you have to work twice as hard and have more than what's required from you. You know what I mean? It's basically a system to where some of us may slip through the crack, but it's a system where it's almost designed for us to fail. You know, and the only way you get through is, you know, you have to know people. You know what I mean? You have to be affiliated. You know, if you're not affiliated, it's not gonna work out for you. If you're going just off your own merit and whatever it is, you know, most times, nah, it's not gonna work out for you. But it is hard for a black man to make moves in this country, you know. Outside of being an athlete or an entertainer, the average guy, yeah. So I hope that answered the question. God bless you.
Well, typically in today's white America, it's always been tougher for a black woman to access a greater paying job than a black man. See, since the beginning of time, it's always been the toughest on black women, from even before the age of dawn. But in today, especially with COVID 2021 and Donald Trump's Proud Boys America, it is almost impossible for a black woman to find a job, period, let alone find a better paying job than a black man. A woman is more likely, a woman who has a degree, more likely to find a janitorial job than to even find a bank teller job. Sad as it may be, it's a Donald Trump's world. So with that being said, absolutely yes. It is more difficult for a black woman to gain access to a better paying job than a black man. As sad as it may be, it's a sad and cruel world that we live in.
All right, so what do you think? Feel free to comment down below. Please feel free to like and share this video so everyone else can touch base with me on this topic. Let me know what your feedback is regarding this question. And, you know, feel free to just share your thoughts and feelings, and please do not hold anything back, okay? If you have any questions, my email address as well as phone number will be in the description box. And if you are new to my channel, I just want to say welcome to the family. Thank you so much for showing the love and subscribing. And if you have been my loyal subscriber, I just want to say I love you and I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Now, there's a little gray box if you want to click on that, subscribe, show me some love. Please do not forget to hit that bell, because that is enabling your notification so you won't miss out on any of my future uploads. So until my next podcast or hair review, I just want to say, Poetic Angel, I love you. Please be safe. Take care of your family. Put God first. And as always, one love. Mwah.